and welcome to Ask Me About K-Pop, the essential guide for recent converts and seasoned fans alike. My name is Shannon.
And I'm Angelica.
And we are so excited today. I've been waiting to do this episode since we started our podcast.
I know. I'm pretty sure we've teased this episode like since our pilot.
Yeah.
Like, we'll talk about that someday.
Yeah. I think, and I truly, you know what? I don't even care. I think this might be the most This Is For Us episode that we've ever done. But like we have to do those
whatever, it's our show.
And I also want to believe firmly in my heart that there is at least a listener out there that will know exactly what we're talking about and will be like, thank you for this.
And you know what? Even if there isn't, I don't care.
I don't care because it's a podcast. So today we are talking about a potentially like a controversial, at least in the way that people feel about it, reality show to piggyback on last week.
Yes, this is an idol reality show that we didn't mention last week because it is so significant to our own like K-pop origin stories. We wanted to give it its own. We knew we would talk too much.
It deserves its own.
So we separated it from the rest. And it is We Got Married.
We got married. So this show was
# Let Idols Bang.
Yes. This truly, oh my God, I am so excited to talk about this. I can't even stand it. Okay, so this show was on, we got to get the deets out of the gate. This show was on NBC and it was on from 2008 to 2017. So this is a goddamn staple. Mm-hmm. There were 373 episodes and 51 couples.
Yes, it had 4 seasons and it included some spin-offs. Including like a global where it included international celebrities.
And a Chinese version.
The original pilot episode was simply 4 arranged celebrity couples, like 8 random celebrities that were coupled up with someone else. And their whole premise was that they had to prepare a New Year's dinner with a budget. And that's all it was. Then the first season introduced the idea of having, again, arranged celebrity couples. So the whole premise of the show is that a celebrity will basically like get a letter in the mail that says, congratulations, you're getting married. Be at this place at this time to meet your husband or wife. And they have no idea who their husband or wife is going to be. And they go and they meet this person and they don't know how long they're going to be on the show, but they're going to have to meet with this person like every week or so. Mm-hmm. Every week they will have a mission or a task or an activity that they have to accomplish. They will be given like a house. They often have like a fake wedding or like wedding photo shoot or a honeymoon that they get. Right. And basically it's just like every week this quote unquote couple is given a mission to accomplish. And the first season introduced the fact that there are MCs to the show. And basically the way that works is kind of like how we explained on I Live Alone, where like the content of the episode is recorded separately. And then all of that recorded content is played in front of the MCs and like guests and an audience to get a reaction and commentary. So the episode that you watch is the combined version of that, like the footage of them like going on their date or going to the store or going bungee jumping or doing whatever the fuck they're doing. And then in the corner, you get like the MCs like commenting on it. And the MCs are the best part of the show. That's so fun. So anyway, the first season had some notable, I didn't write down everybody because like Shannon said, there's 51 couples on it. And like half of the couples are like musicians or actors or, like, I don't know, like random ass celebrities that I have no idea who they are. Just like quote unquote famous people. Like some of them aren't even that famous and they're just like random ass celebrities from Korea. The first season, some notable guests. They had Shinhwa's Andy and Junjin. They also had Super Junior's Kangin and Girls' Generation's Taeyeon.
That was one of the weirdest ones. I have to bring it up before we go any farther. Yeah. She was quote unquote married to Donnie of Donnie Coney and Weekly Idol guys. And if you're like that guy, like, it's crazy because like 3 months after they were done with their run, he got married for real and then like has twin daughters. Like it was
because he's like 20 years older than her. And
weirdest
it was
couple
like
they ever did.
It was very weird.
But they were only on for 13 episodes. That's very short.
Yeah, they didn't have a very long run. Couples they all have different run times. There's really no set structure for how long a couple's going to be on this show. It's kind of just like how compatible are they and how popular
does anyone care?
Yeah.
Is their company? That's
how available are they?
Right. That's the weirdest part about We Got Married. Like everything that you just said up top, like I was going to expand on all of those points like a million times over, but like there kind of is no real format to We Got Married. Like it was on so long and it had so many different showrunners and so many different types of couples that there isn't, we can't tell you for sure, like this is how a We Got Married season goes because it was always different while also being the same.
Yeah. The only thing that really stayed the same was like you get a letter in the mail telling you you're going to get married and you don't know who you're marrying.
Yeah.
That's really the only
consistency from
the only consistency. And like usually you get a house. Usually you get a wedding. Not always.
Not everybody got a house or a wedding. Yeah, it was very weird.
It was like very different. And it also depended on the season, like how much funding that company had or the production company had. Like at first they had like a little village where like they had like little houses.
That was
like,
in the middle when there was a We Got Married village. That was in the middle. And then there was
like a part where like, oh, we don't have that village anymore. And like you guys are going to be in this weird makeshift
in a camper
that's on the roof of one of our like studios. And then the other one, like the last season was like, we have to spend all of our production budget. Here's a really fancy apartment. Like, I don't know, man. It was this because this show was like, I feel like constantly threatened with cancellation.
Yeah.
That it like wildly very
shifted.
Yeah.
So let's go. So we can talk about like We Got Married in a general sense. Let's quickly go more through like people who were on it in a couple seasons.
We just talked about season 1. Season 2, at first they tried to steer away from this arranged marriage thing and they had a real couple on it to try and give you this like more realistic version of marriage. And the couple was like supposed to give like marriage advice
to the
fake couples. The ratings. Nobody gave a shit. So then they brought back again celebrity couples, just some notable couples. I wrote Jo Kwon from 2AM was quote unquote married to Brown Eyed Girls.
They were so popular.
Then CN Blue's Jung Young Hwa was married to Girls' Generation's Sohyun. And then Nick Kun from 2PM was married to Victoria from FX in season 2. Season 3, Nick Kun and Victoria continued. They were a very popular couple. Then we also had Tiara member Yun Jung, who married actor Lee Jang-woo. We had Ladies Code member Kwon Rise, who married a singer named David Oh. Super Junior's Lee Tok married an actress named Kang So-ra. And then season 4 had Shiny's Taemin, who married A-Pink's Naeun. Then we had one of my favorite couples, Too Young. They had, which was Woo Young from 2PM and an actress named So Young. So their couple name was Too Young because they both had Young in their name. Then there was CN Blue's Jeon Hyung and an actress named Song Yeon. Another fantastic couple. If you ever watch their series, I highly recommend you also watch the drama they put together. It is on Netflix. Even if you don't watch the We Got Married, let me just
watch that drama.
Let me just tell you what's up right now. So We Got Married. Jeon Young from CN Blue instantly falls in love.
Obsessed with her.
Instantly.
Loved her.
Instantly
with all his heart.
falls in love with this beautiful actress, Song Yeon. And after their very first meeting, goes home and writes a song about their meeting. And like throughout their season, like they finish the song together, right? They like have this beautiful relationship. It's so lovely.
He's
and pleasant.
Obsessed with her.
She's so doting and like so kind. It's beautiful and heartwarming in ways I don't have time to describe right now. But so they have this lovely relationship on this show, and then they release a drama together, which is a hilarious, crazy, slapstick time travel drama called My Only Love Song. And it is on Netflix. It involves them making out like
all the time.
5 separate times at least in that show. And it's called My Only Love Song. And they wrote their love song together, and their love is real. And I hope that when he comes out of the army, they're still together.
I know, right?
Anyway,
okay,
that
keep
was
going
in season
so we can
4.
get into into this.
They also had B2B's Songjae and Red Velvet's Joy, as well as Eric Nam and Solar from Mamamoo, and our baby Fur Prize Gong Myung, and an actress whose name I honestly didn't write down. Thank you very much. They were a couple that was the first couple on We Got Married to during their season.
They were fucking,
and they did not hide that at all. It was really cute. Actually, their like pilot episode, she had a crush on him already. Like they had met before. They had met before, and she had like instantly fallen for him because he's a beautiful, handsome prince.
And they'd spent all night talking once.
Yeah, like
it was like a romantic comedy.
Yeah. So like the first day that they met, they ended up spending like the entire day and evening together talking, and then like kind of kept in touch, but didn't really. And so then when she was told like, "Oh, you're going to be on this show, like who would be your ideal husband?" Because they always ask that when you're like first told that you're going to be on the show, like who would you like to be on the show with? And she said Gong Myung. And when they met, they always devised like really fun, goofy ways for them to like meet each other.
Right.
And so she had to be on this like ski lift. And she was wearing like a mask, like a ski mask or whatever. And he got on and like he wasn't wearing a mask. So she knew right away that it was him. And she was like dying inside because she was like, oh my God, I'm already in love with him, and now I actually get to be his wife. And he recognized her right away, in like a really cute way that he clearly already had feelings for her too. There's like really sweet and precious, and basically like 3 episodes in, they were so touchy, like so affectionate. It was crazy. And that everybody was like, this is ridiculous. Like someone throw cold water on them. Like what's happening?
They had to edit away from them in a way I'd never seen anyone get edited away from.
Yeah, because there's like, and we're going to talk about this throughout this whole episode of how like there were real love connections. Not all of them, but like some of them were real love connections. And like in those moments, those idols had to be very careful about like how they express their affection for each other, because obviously like they have a lot of fans watching, and they're not really supposed to be in love, and they can't actually kiss this person on TV or whatever. Gong Myun didn't give a shit about that. Neither did his wife. And so there's like a scene where they're like moving in for the first time into their house, and they straight up start making out in their bedroom, and the camera just like awkwardly cuts away. And anyway, the very next episode, they announced that they were actually a couple, and then their season got kind of
killed
awkward.
the show. They killed the show. Yeah. Like, I love them, but I'll tell you right now, they killed the show, because it can't, like, they ended it. Yeah. Because there was a freaking episode, I mean, I was into it, but there was an episode where they like went on their honeymoon trip like everybody does. They're sitting in a hot tub. They are all up on each other in the hot tub, and then they ran away from the cameras. Yeah. And that was the end of the episode, because they ran away from the cameras. They killed the show.
Yeah. They couldn't keep it in their pants, and they ruined it for everyone.
Okay.
But so it's okay, Gong Myung. I still love you.
So let's back up. I just want to talk about We Got Married in general.
Yeah. That was
like just getting it off of like who might be on it.
I will also say right now that the latest episodes of season 4 are available on Viki. This includes like Eric Nam's season, Gong Myung's season, Bomi from A Pink is on there as well. So the last, I would say maybe like 75 episodes. Season 4 also includes like Taemin and Nan and Young, like Woo Young and from 2PM. Their relationship is not on Viki, but like the later half of the 4th season
also
is available.
In the same vein, MBC does have all of this show on their YouTube channel. However, they only English subtitle a 5-minute segment of every other episode.
Boo.
Like they find moments that were worth putting an English subtitle on. So
it's all worth
if you want to watch the whole Taemin season, you can do it, but there will only be subtitles every 20th video. Like,
boo.
So, okay. So We Got Married is very, very important to me, because I've talked about before, this was like my introduction into so many things. And I can get back to that in a moment. But I wrote down just like a list of elements of what I think makes like We Got Married such a special show.
Okay.
And you brought it up earlier, but I think the MCs are so fantastic. And I've said before that if the MCs aren't your favorite part of We Got Married, then you're watching it wrong.
Totally.
Because they pop up in the corner or they like cut to them away in studio, but they get jealous, they get annoyed, they cringe, they scream, they like yell,
they kiss her.
Like,
they support the couples being real couples more than anybody else. Like, they want the love to be real so much that it's so validating to watch. Like, Danny on from GOD. I love him so much. He was an MC for a while, and I loved him because he had that bitter single guy energy. Like, he would just get cranky at people, and like if the dudes wouldn't make moves, he would get really angry. Like, why aren't you just doing then when
this?
Things were like really cute in Woo Young's season, he would just like watch behind a pillow and he would be so like, he would just squee, and it was so cute.
Yeah. The MCs are really great. And they also, a lot of the MCs and eventually got to be coupled up on the show.
Yeah. If they were single. Some of the MCs were like married couples.
Park Mi-sun, who is like a lady comedian, I think she was also a host on like a good chunk of Happy Together, like back when it was the sauna show. But anyway, she was the only consistency in the MCs throughout all of the years.
Yeah. And because sometimes like they had like a cast of MCs, and then every once in a while they would bring in like friends of the couple. So like if a member of 2PM was on We Got Married, then they would have like other members or like idols who are good friends with them there to be an MC and to like watch the episode
and call their bullshit out.
Yeah, and then be like, he's a liar or whatever.
Yeah, on that exact same topic, a thing that I wrote down is like one of my favorite episode, like types of We Got Married episodes is when having the members over for dinner, surprising the members or whatever, because there was just something so funny about like the call outs and the like dragging and the jealousy. Especially the jealousy of everything that would happen when like members got brought into it.
Because like We Got Married is because we've talked about this a lot on the show, how idols are, for better or worse, not allowed to have public relationships. And this is the one opportunity. Like if you were on We Got Married, you got to have a somewhat public relationship. At least you got to pretend that you were in a relationship. You got to be affectionate with someone else. You got to go on nice dates. Sometimes you got to go on trips and honeymoons. Like you got to sort of play this role that you ultimately like weren't allowed to play. And so when you have someone like on Taemin's season, when like Mino and Key came on, like Key was so bitter and jealous that Taemin got to be on this show. Like he wanted to be on We Got Married so badly because he just like wanted the opportunity to explore this side of life that as an idol you don't get to explore.
Exactly. That was the next thing on my list, is just like the mere concept of idols getting to date or to pretend to date. It was great. It's a nice insight into people's personalities. It's really fun to see how people like act in those kinds of situations. And then there's also just all the shipping, like so much shipping.
Because sometimes you can't hide the love that's in your eyes. Like we can see those heart eyes from miles away, Nikun. We know they're real and it's fine.
So I have to say, like, this is my biggest thing at the bottom before I get any further, but like, I need to defend We Got Married.
Okay.
Because I feel like it is, when it was on, fans had a lot to fucking say about it.
Because like we said, idols aren't really allowed to have these relationships. And so obviously like them being on these kinds of shows, especially someone like Taemin, who was so young and like very, very shortly after his debut did he go on this show. Like it caused a lot of controversy very easily, just simply based on the premise of the show.
Right. But there was this sort of idea all surrounding it of that We Got Married is 100% fake and anybody who likes it is stupid and it's a fake bullshit fake show. one of the things that people like to use to prove this was this weird paparazzi picture from the first season when Tiara, that girl from Tiara, was on it. Mm-hmm. They were like filming, they'd done like a, gone to Thailand for a trip episode or whatever. And people were taking pictures of them. And in the background, there was a PA holding up a cue card that said, let's try coconuts. And so people were like, this is a fake bullshit scripted show. It's entirely scripted. It's fake. It's bullshit. It's fake. But like we said at the beginning of the episode, like that's how reality shows work. Like if you can't just let people walk through a market because people have to agree to be on camera. Sometimes you have to pay for that stuff. Like it's all...
You have to get releases formed. You have to clear certain roads so that Timeen can walk down the street. Yes. Like give me a fucking break.
So
you
they
can't just release these idols into the world.
Yes. So I think it doesn't take anything away from it if when they showed up to shooting, someone was like, okay, you guys can catch up, but then somebody needs to say, wouldn't it be fun to go ice skating? Like, they have to do that because you have to like build a show around it.
Yeah.
So
it's like you guys are going to get together and then you're going to go build furniture or whatever.
Right. So I think that like We Got Married isn't fake. It isn't scripted, but it is manufactured.
Yes.
And that like a path was built that they had to follow. But I also think that it kind of forced is a bad word, but like everything they did like facilitates bonding. Like the whole point was like trying to get these people to give a shit about each other, and they didn't always. So that's why I think that's another thing. Like I think like people who like We Got Married just get like painted as like stupid, delusional assholes. But like I can say for a fact that like plenty of these people didn't like each other.
Oh yeah, no. There are many couples that had no chemistry at all, but like the ones that do have that chemistry, it's so fun to watch because there's like such a, at least for the idols in particular, like there were other like more adult couples.
Oh, that you were like, ooh, they should totally
that you
married.
were like, ooh, like maybe when this is over, like they will really date. But there's like an innocence and like naivete almost in the eyes of the idols, in the sense that like it's all so new and like it's so refreshing that they get to walk down the street and hold this person's hand and they're not going to get in trouble for it because it's for a TV show. And so they get this sort of like, there's this like fun excitement to it, and like it's something that it's a side of them they're not allowed to show the public. And so as a fan of these idols who does support them being in healthy, loving relationships, it's really rewarding to see when a favorite idol of yours like does have a crush on somebody and that person likes them back, and oh, look, now they're holding hands, and like it's just really fucking fun.
And that's what I wrote in like big pretty letters with like glitter around it, is the word showmance. And I don't know if everybody is like familiar with this term, but like I feel like it comes from like the acting world, where you get put in these situations where you are like stuck with a whole bunch of people for a lot, like many hours of the day, and like maybe you have been like, you and this guy are like, oh, you're playing husband and wife in this weird play for the next 6 weeks, and how often those people
end up dating,
but just for that short period of time of like, oh, we're stuck together. And like I also went to summer camp a lot, had a lot of like summer camp boyfriends that I loved desperately for 3 weeks and then never saw again. You know what I mean? I feel like this show sort of has that kind of element where like, do I think that every single one of these couples like kept in touch after the fact? No, absolutely. I know that plenty of them did not, which is a bummer. But I also don't think it discredits the time that they spent together, because I think that is real in that element. It's real.
Yeah. And they did like form a connection, however deep or long lasting it was, I think varied. I think that there are some couples you could argue like probably did last outside of the season.
I have good intel and a gut feeling that at least one of these couples is still together, but whatever. I could keep that to myself. But but I also like, I don't know, the one we're going to talk about forever today. Like it's a true fact that these people did not stay together or whatever. But I don't think their whole relationship was like fake. I do like that's the thing, is I think these people cared about each other.
Their connection was sincere while they were together.
Yes,
like maybe they didn't actually date outside of this show, but they did actually like each other. They were very kind to each other and they cared for each other sincerely.
And that's what I like about the show is that's the point I'm making. Like, I'm not trying to say that like I believe with all my heart that all these people loved each other and had a great time and stayed together afterward, because I don't think that they did. But I do think that like that the show part of it, like that it matters. And like these people made memories together and they did things together and it matters.
And I think it's worth noting that like at the beginning of the show, when they first meet for the first time, like they meet in sort of like an awkward blind date situation where like they're always in different scenarios, but like they just sort of come upon each other and they're like, oh, hi, haha, you're my wife or whatever. And there's usually a point in that first episode where the couple sits down and they have like a meal or a coffee or something together, and they talk about what they want out of their time on the show together. Because sometimes like idols or whatever, like the cast members, they kind of like, sometimes they know and they volunteer to be on the show. And sometimes it comes as a surprise, like their manager or their company or whatever signed them up for it. And so they just know that they have to do it.
Right.
And so they have this sort of moment in their first meeting, not always, but often the couples will have like this moment in their first meeting where they sit down and they say, okay, we have to do this. So what is it that you would like out of this time that we share together? And most often they agree that like, no matter what, they agree to take the time that they have seriously. They agree to put their full effort into it. And they agree to treat each other with respect and with kindness. And those sort of foundations of like, look, we are coming into this agreeing and knowing that it is not a real relationship, knowing that it has this expiration date. It's only for a short amount of time and it is for TV. But let's treat it as sincerely and respectfully as possible so that we can both have a nice time. And kind of in that sense where we talked last week about how like these shows are just like pleasant people being nice to each other. It's that sort of element of just like, here we are in this situation. Let's make the best of it and have a nice time while we're here. And they have such
and
nice
they did.
times.
And because of that kind of like, general agreement of it, that's why 2 or maybe 3 people got kicked off the show for being caught in real relationships. People being like, hey, you are breaking the bond.
Yes.
You can't have a girlfriend and be on We Got Married.
Exactly.
Get the fuck out of here.
Especially because then like fans of We Got Married who do support the couple in particular, like if one of the couples is caught in dating rumors with someone who's not their couple, then they say like, you're disrespecting your marriage contract.
Wife. Yeah, your virtual marriage is being disrespected.
You are supposed to be in this relationship and you can't be giving that relationship 100% if you're then walking off the We Got Married set and going out with some other girl.
Exactly.
So it is treated seriously in a variety of contexts. But
did Siri
just turned on? Shut up, Siri. I'm not talking to you. But anyway, so we're going to talk specifically about one couple today. Yes. And the reason that we chose to talk about this couple is because this show and this couple in particular is very important to both of our K-pop origin stories.
True.
And the couple we're talking about today is Khuntoria.
Khuntoria.
Also known as Nickhoon from 2PM and Victoria from FX.
Yes. Okay. So you just named our players. The time period of they started in March 2010,
which was season 3, and they carried over into season 4.
They were on the show for a year and 3 months.
No, I'm sorry. They started in season 2. They carried over into season 3.
Yeah. They were on the show for a year and 3 months, which was longer than anyone. At the time, I thought I wrote this down. Well, no, I can just do math. At the time, Victoria was 22 and Khun was 21.
Okay. They're both foreign idols. Victoria is Chinese and Khun is Thai.
From Thailand. From Thai. He's from Thailand. I wonder sometimes, like I was thinking about it today, like why this couple was so extremely popular. I think like a part of it, like they fed each other a lot, which the general public really liked.
I wrote that down. Their very first episode, she feeds him immediately.
And then everybody was really into them feeding each other. And then I also wondered if it was just if it was their foreignness. Like, I can tell I can hear her accent. His isn't as bad, but I wonder if they're in the same way that I like seasons of Bachelorette Australia better because I like people's funny Australian accents. I wonder if like they were particularly cute.
Maybe. I mean,
because she doesn't understand people a lot. Like, she has to have people repeat words to her all the time. And one of a specific episode, she's like trying to learn Korean idioms and like she misspeaks in cute. So maybe it was just cute.
He makes her this like this dictionary.
We'll get to it.
Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. But I will say that like that was also a very common theme and element in their show, that they were the foreign idol couples. Like the MCs brought it up all the time, like almost to exhaustion and like too much, where it's like, okay, we get it, they have an accent or whatever, like we get it, they're foreign, like okay.
Okay, so I watched this. Basically, I watched the whole show. I skimmed it, but I watched as much as I could this weekend to like try to refresh myself. Because I want to talk about like what this means to us before we like
That's
go
what I was
through
going to say.
it.
Yeah, before we start talking about specific episodes, talk to us about like the significance of the show and why we're dedicating an entire episode to it.
So I was having like serious flashbacks while watching all of this stuff because I think I've said this in an earlier episode, but just to reiterate, like I had discovered A-Pink and immediate, like very, very, like the day or two when I was like watching all their videos, I found this interview and Yoonji said in the interview, like, oh, our Noun like just got married, and everyone was like, oh, good for her. And I was like, oh my God, this girl is married?
Yeah, she's so young.
And I like thought that was so intriguing. And then I like Googled it and it was like shiny to me. And I was like, oh, she's married to a dude in a boy band? Like, this is so fun. Totally thought it was real. Like, because it's hard.
Was very confused.
It's very confused. Found the show, sort of figured out eventually after like an episode that it wasn't a real marriage, but I was very confused because I thought it was like a Nick Lachey, Jessica Simpson.
Yeah. Newlyweds.
Yes. Like, celebrity marriage reality show. Found out it wasn't real. But the show was like 4 or 5 episodes into their season. So I was having to like, I devoured it all in a day. Decided like we just discovered I love SHINee, so now I have 2 K-pop groups and this show that I love
that combines them both.
Yes,
how coincidental.
But it was on week to week, and while I was waiting between like episode 5 and 6, I discovered through Google that the real We Got Married couple is Khuntoria. Like, that's the real one. So I went back, and I want to say within 3 or 4 days, I watched all 65 episodes of them. And then I sent it to you, and you did the same.
Yeah, and it, like, vastly derailed my grad school work. Like, I would go to the library, and, like, because I feel like I mean, it's funny to like go back and rewatch the Khuntoria episodes because we were watching these in like 2013.
280p, baby. This was a rough weekend. Old
yeah.
school videos.
Well, I was gonna say we watched them in 2013, right? So like 5 years ago. The files are such shitty quality. They are so small, and whatever you sent them to me, like I was able to. They were like QuickTime files, like QuickTime players. So I didn't even need the internet in order to watch them. And so I would like go to which was terrible because what I would do in grad school was I'd go to the library and I'd turn off my internet so that I would just like write my essays and I wouldn't be tempted to go like internet surfing. And then I had this 65 episodes of a show that I could watch without any internet at all. And I would sit in the library and spend the first like hour just watching Khuntoria episodes, and I would specifically sit in like a corner of the library so that nobody else could see my computer screen. And I remember just like trying to hold my facial expressions in because this is a show that you just like squee through the entire thing. And I'm just like sitting there in the library, like trying to be passive and cool, and like, oh man.
Yeah,
that show really made my work hard.
I was also like so fucking into it. Like I also remember around this time, like my very vivid memory is like Wade was still working nights. So like I would wake up and like sneak out of bed and the house would still be dark and it'd be like, okay, I have to leave for work in 22 minutes. So I'd be like, I can watch We Got Married for 7.5 minutes. Like I was watching it at every single second that I could. I couldn't get enough of this show.
It was so addicting, and like is honestly the reason I love 2 p.m. as much as I do.
Yeah, it's the reason I love a lot of things as much as I do. I like wrote down, because rewatching it this time was honestly such a trip. I hadn't seen it in a couple of years, and like watching the first couple episodes, I just like remembered how much I did not know when I first started watching the show. Everything about it was foreign to me.
Yeah.
I like watching now, like I said, I skimmed through like 65 episodes this weekend. I didn't have to look at the screen the whole time. Mm-hmm. I understand people speaking Korean now, so like I don't have to do that all the time, which was weird because I know the first time I watched it, I couldn't read. I didn't know anything about anything. Mm-hmm. And I was just reading the subtitles, and I would have to pause it and like Google things all the time. I like wrote down just like a handful of things I think I learned about from We Got Married. And some of these can be vocabulary words, which we haven't done in so long. Skinship.
Oh yeah. I remember that.
That's a vocabulary word.
Yeah. So that's definitely an aspect of Korean culture that I had no idea about before we watched the show. And it comes up a lot. Like, so if you watch variety shows or like V Lives or whatever, basically skinship is physical affection between two people. And it is like between members of the same gender, like a little bit more often, you know, like members of a boy group or a girl group or whatever, like will hold hands or like put their arms around each other or like snuggle or whatever. Like they can often be very affectionate with each other. But the skinship that you build with a person of the opposite sex that you, or like I should say a person that you are like romantically interested in, is a very important piece of the relationship that takes a back seat in a lot of ways to like your emotional and intellectual connection to that person. Like a lot, and also the idea of like speaking formally and informally.
Yes, that's the next thing on my list. Like that was a thing, because in basically every We Got Married couple,
every single one,
they have to discuss
out
how are we going to talk to each other.
Yeah, and when they first meet, they speak formally. And I remember this being like a very significant piece of the conversation with C in Blues John Young, because he wanted to speak informally right away, and she had a hard time like breaking the pattern of speaking formally. And so that was like a fun aspect of it or whatever. But they ask each other like, what can I call you? Like, can I call you by your name? Do I need to have like a formal identifier at the end of it? Like, and they try
and then eventually
to break
maybe
down
picking couple nicknames and like that part of it
later. But the skinship piece of it like really comes in, especially because the MCs pick up on that shit really away. Quickly. And they always are like, oh, he touched her shoulder. Yeah. Oh, he put his hand around her. Like, oh, did she mean to feed him? Like when she fed him that thing, his lips touched her finger or whatever. Like the smallest pieces of contact are pointed
but they mean
out
everything
immediately.
They like mean I can't believe how much this show would get me like worked up over somebody like wiping something off of someone's cheek and being like, oh my God, they touched. Like it's crazy.
Especially, and that was something that like was a real fun like culture shock as an American, where like Americans are so PDA, like they just are so affectionate all the time, and like you don't give a shit about that on TV shows or reality shows where like you're banging on the first day you met someone or whatever, like all of that crap. And it's so fun to then like go back and watch this show where like they do not touch at all for like a very long period of time, and then it's like, oh, he put her coat on for her, like that's such an important piece of thing, whatever. Or like, oh, like she drank from the water bottle and then he drank from it afterward.
The idea of an indirect kiss, which I had never even thought about for a second, but they would bring it up anytime on the show. If you use a spoon and then put that spoon in someone's mouth, they'd be like, indirect kiss.
Yeah.
But it's not anything.
There's like a very like fun like middle school vibe about it of like, ooh, did he mean to touch my hand? Like, whatever.
I don't know.
He used my chapstick. We basically kissed.
I love this show. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is the show that introduced me into so many concepts of Korean culture and so much K-pop. And I feel like I learned everything that I know from We Got Married. And it was really fun going back through this Khuntoria season. And I'm excited to talk about it. But the funniest part was how much Korean I understand now and how I knew who everyone was. Like the first time I watched it, didn't know who the MCs were, didn't know the people they ran into in the hallways, didn't know anyone. Yeah. Now I recognize all of those people. They all have bad 2010 haircuts and look crazy, but it was really funny to see it again all these years later.
And it's fun to go back and watch it knowing so much now about how the K-pop industry works as well, because the time that Nikun and Victoria were on this show, both of them were actively promoting with their groups. And so they would see each other. There were whole episodes where both of them were performing at Music Bank. And so Victoria would go and she roped in Shiny to help her do something for Nikun or whatever, who was in a waiting room, two hallways over or whatever. And so it was just really fun to see those current aspects of the industry in this TV show.
All right. Well, I say let's go for it because I made notes of every single episode so that we'd have things to talk about. Okay, so the first episode of Khuntoria, Nikun, it immediately starts with a mean prank, which is a lot of their relationship is what I think are mean pranks. So he gets on a bus and it's decorated crazy and people are and then a comedian lady sits next to him and she's like, I'm your wife. And it's supposed to be hysterical and crazy that he would even marry this comedian. Haven't you heard comedians are ugly? That seems to be the joke.
But he doesn't realize it's a joke.
And so he's being really sincere to her.
And he didn't notice that the side of the bus has a picture of Victoria on it. So it was supposed to be very obvious who he was marrying, but he didn't know that. So he gets on and he thinks that this comedian woman is really his wife. And so he's being very respectful. And the joke does, and she's trying to get him to freak out or react in any other way, and he's just a nice sweet boy who's not going to insult this woman who's sitting right in front of him, who he might have to be married to for months and months, and the prank just doesn't go the way they wanted it to.
So she eventually is just kidding, it's not me, blah blah blah. So then they go to the 63 building, which is a tall building, and he has to take an elevator up, and the elevator opens several times. And there's a girl standing there and he's supposed to ask a secret question, what's your favorite food, and she's supposed to say samgyeopsal, but there's different actresses and hot girls on every floor and they're saying other things.
And so the elevator just opens and he has no control over the elevator. It just he gets in and it will open at random times and he has to ask this question, and when he hears the right answer, that's when he gets off. So finally it opens to top. Victoria. She says the right answer and he gets to... She gets on the elevator with him.
Yes.
And they go and they eat her favorite food.
Yes, they go eat their favorite food.
She feeds him immediately. And he has this precious moment where she does it without even thinking. Because I think this probably came from her being the oldest member of FX, that she was just the mom. She's so used to taking care of people that she immediately, without questioning or thinking twice about it, just makes a little wrap for him and hands it to him, for him to eat it out of her hand. And he instantly looks at the camera oh, and then covers his mouth and goes and bites it, and it's so cute.
It's so cute. And then they go to karaoke and they call Juno and Woo Young from 2 p.m. and Victoria says because it was getting awkward and they didn't know what to say to each other anymore. They were very young. They were very young. They were wearing very tight t-shirts. I was dying. It's so fun to go back into the past, guys. It's hilarious. So I'm going to just skip over the first couple episodes for a bit because I think this is
just hit some highlights.
Yeah, because I think one of the funnest things about We Got Married, I was going to bring it up. There was a point when you were talking earlier where it would have fit in so good. But just that I feel like in all, at least with the good couple, at least with the quote unquote good couples, the couples that I like, the couples that I feel like had some spark, there's usually like a moment, like a turn where you're like, oh, after this episode, everything was different. Like they talk to each other different. They look at each other different. Like a lot of people have a moment. And I feel like Khuntoria's didn't come for a really long time. Yeah, their first like 20 episodes are honestly really awkward.
Yeah, they're very awkward at first. And like both of them try in different ways to make it not awkward. But I think that like maybe it was like a communication language barrier in some sense where like they had to communicate in Korean and neither of them were. I mean, for Nikun, it's like his third language. And for Victoria, it's her second. And like, so they kind of struggled with that. But I think also like they were both very unsure of how to conduct themselves on the show. And so they like, and they didn't know each other at all. And they were like from different companies and et cetera. Like, I think they had a really hard time finding their.
No, totally. And I feel like so many of the like classic We Got Married type episodes that came after them are like because they did them first. Like, they
like the camping episode.
No one previous to them had been on the show as long, had this chemistry. Like they really like set a bar. So at the beginning of their episodes, like, I wrote an episode 5 was their first lie-based surprise, which was like one of the most awkward and worst parts of this season is that like they both liked to do lie-based surprise pranks that end up making, again, like I think this is just a symptom of Korean TV, people making someone super, super mad or sad and then being like, just kidding. So they like were away. They meet and then they like have to go on tour for like a month.
Yeah.
That was another thing. I think you might have said it at the beginning, but I learned it when I got really into the show that like in generally they would shoot this like once a month. Like on a Tuesday at 10 p.m. or whatever, they'd just shoot. And then the way the shows aired for like 3 or 4 episodes, you'd be getting the same storyline.
Yeah.
And I find that all of my favorite We Got Married episodes are at the end of that day. Like when they had been together for 18 hours, like that's when the episodes got the funnest.
Yeah.
Because of all the awkward, because I think if they were only seeing each other once a month, those first couple hours would be weird.
Yeah, then, like, absolutely. And because I think we should explain also, like, one episode of We Got Married is not just about one couple.
Yeah. Sorry.
So, like, one episode might feature 3 different couples on it. And so, like, that one 60-minute episode, the first 20 minutes are about one couple, the second 20 minutes, then it switches to another couple, then it switches to a third couple. And so you only see, like, let's say that they're together for 18 hours starting on a Tuesday and then a Wednesday. That one day will be cut into maybe 3 or 4 episodes, and then you just sort of only see little 20-minute snippets every week
of their whatever excursion.
So it's very drawn out.
Yes. So in the very beginning of Khuntoria, they like were separated for like a month after their initial meeting, and they had like agreed to like let's leave each other notes like and keep a diary of when we're gone. Yeah. And then they go on a train trip, and when they get on the train, Khun is like, "Ooh, I didn't do that. I didn't do it at all." Yeah. And then she's pissed.
Yeah, because she took time and like really worked hard on hers, and he supposedly didn't at all.
So then they wait through the whole day. They like go to the river. He has his arms out. His body is crazy. It was especially crazy then.
Buff.
And they have a good day at the river. And then finally he's like, he gives her his photo book.
Yeah.
And then he says what becomes his catchphrase, which is, "It's okay if you want to cry." She doesn't want to cry. And
no, she's just mad.
It just became like one of their catchphrases. The MCs would say it all the time. He would say it all the time. Like, it's okay if you want to cry.
Especially because Victoria is like a very like savvy woman, and like she isn't an overly emotional person. Yeah. Like she doesn't cry easily. I also wrote down that camping episode because they go like on this train ride, and she's really pissed at first, and then she's pissed for like a long time, and then they go to the river, and they're like walking through the river, and this is sort of their first skinship which like quickly builds, because as they're walking through the river, like she slips on on some rocks and he like catches her. And at first he's just sort of holding her elbow, quickly turns into holding their hands as they're walking through. Like that makes a big difference. The MC's really freaked out over it. And then they go and they have this like tent set up and they're like supposed to like lie down in the tent and like take a nap or whatever. And Cooney's just like peeking at her the whole time. He like doesn't really want to nap at all. And they're so flirty and he like pokes her and like pushes her because then he gives her the book and she's just like, you little shit. Like, why did you tell me you didn't do this? And he's just like, tee-hee, like pushes her away. Like, are you mad? It's okay if you want to cry. And she's just like, child. Like,
so then, let's see. Then early on, it was like Coon's birthday, and she made him like a 9-piece meal and like brought it out to the park, and it was.
And she's a phenomenal cook. Yeah. So like so much. I wrote down that like one of my favorite things about Khuntoria is them in the kitchen. They're like very, very cute in the kitchen together.
Agree. Then they got their driver's licenses together. That was a couple of episodes. Then they like at the time we mentioned it already, Joe Kwan from 2AM and Guyan from Brown Eyed Girls were on the show, and they were also an extremely popular couple at the time, which is so funny. He is gay as hell. Yeah, but people loved them. So then they have like a double date episode with them, which I wrote down as one of my favorite things about We Got Married. I love the episodes where there are multiple couples, where they make all the couples on the show do something together.
Yeah, it's fun.
Because you get to see how different everybody's dynamics are, and people will be like, he's holding her hand. You never hold my hand. Yeah. And like, it's, oh my God, I love it. I love those episodes. So they have like a marriage double date where they've been on the show forever. So they're like, they're very over each other. And they have that kind of like, we've been married for 20 years, even though they've been on the show for 6 months. It's so funny. So they have like a friend double date.
And like Joe Kwan's from 2AM and Nick Coon's from 2PM. So like they were already buddies.
Yeah. And
so that helps.
Two other guys from 2AM were like semi-permanent MCs that season. They were like always on the MC couch.
Yeah.
I wrote in episode 7 while Googling Nikun, Victoria watched the Cabby song video. I just thought that was funny because we've brought that up on the show together.
That's so funny. They go to the beach a lot together in their season. I wrote that he loves to pick her up. He picks her up all the time, especially when they go to the beach. There's like one very cute moment where they're like trying to take a picture on the beach and she like slips. And so he's sitting on a rock and she's like trying to like stand next to him on the rock and she slips and he just casually like pulls her onto his lap. And it's so cute.
And the MCs are
like, ah!
But then the girl MCs are like, you know what? I wish that guys wouldn't do that because you can't actually sit on their lap. You have to, it hurts so bad because you can't really sit on them because they'll know how heavy you are. So you have to
hold yourself and you have to like do like a wall sit so that they don't really know. But I wrote, he loves picking her up and she loves his back.
Oh my God. Yes.
She loves giving him massages. She loves giving him back hugs. There's this really precious scene where he's like playing the piano and she starts writing a message on his back. And it ends with a heart and then a back.
Okay. So I wrote in episode 15, he has to take FX to the water park. And that's when they all start calling him dad.
Yeah.
They try for a second to call each other mom and dad. It does not stick. No. They like try it for a couple episodes. His hair, I wrote that his hair was super hideous. Her hair doesn't change at all through the whole year and a half.
He has like 5 different hairstyles and they're all bad.
They're all bad.
Except for like one. One is okay.
Then on episode 18 is when I wrote second lie surprise. This one makes me super angry.
Is this the one on the boat?
Yeah. I had to skip it again because it makes me mad every time. Yeah. So he has a concert in Busan. It's 2PM's first, like this was so long ago. It was 2PM's like first concert. And she comes to the concert, sees him before, and then he's like, okay, I'll see you after. He like rents, or he rents. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They get a boat.
There's a yacht. And he's like, he has this whole surprise planned for her. But instead, like, he has to turn it into a lie. They're up on the top of the yacht. And he's like, oh, God, I'm sick. I'm so sick. Hold on. I'm sick. And he like goes down to the bottom of the deck and she's just sitting there and she's like looking at the producers and she's like, is he okay? Like, should I go check on him? Whatever. And while he's down there, he's like hanging up streamers because he's gonna sing her a song. Yeah, but she's sitting up on the deck being like, is he like, he's sick?
And he's like so clumsy that he ends up taking like way longer than he's supposed to. Like he plans to just be like, oops, I got a barf, I'll be right back, like sorry, and like dip downstairs for maybe 10 minutes, and then he like spills shit and he rips shit and he like can't get his shit together, and so it takes him so long to like spread the flower petals and put up the lights that she's up there being like, oh my god, is he like vomiting his brains out? Do we need a doctor? Like get us off the boat, dock us, like bring us back to shore. She's very concerned, and the producers are like, haha, no, it's fine, don't worry about it, I'm sure he's okay, just give him a minute. And like, so by the time she actually goes downstairs, she's just like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, and so the surprise isn't, she doesn't like it because she's mad because she was worried for 45 minutes thinking he was like really sick. So
yeah, that was
second lie-based bullshit surprise. He does a lot of those. And then as you were just saying, I wrote, it wasn't until episode 20, which was their 100th day, which in like Korean dating culture, 100 days is like you celebrate that. That was beach lap sitting, carrying, like that's when they really started touching each other.
Yeah.
And then episode 22 is when they got a house, and they had such a nice house.
Yeah, they did have a nice house. They had a nice house. And
not everyone got nice houses, but they got a nice house.
They got a nice
and a car.
House, and they got a car, and which was really fun for them. Like it's something on We Got Married that you'll see a lot. They always get really excited when they get to go on car trips because they're finally actually alone.
They're all the way alone when they're in the car.
Like obviously like when they're filming this show, like they have camera people, like a whole crew that's following them around, but in the car they just have like a set up camera, but it's really just the two of them like alone together. And so that comes up a lot throughout We Got Married.
I wrote that down in my favorite things about We Got Married, road trip episodes.
Yeah, road trip episodes are always the best. I don't know where this comes up in their season because like I didn't rewatch the whole season. I just found like highlight reels. When do they do their Namsan Tower lock?
That was before. They do that before their 100th day. They did their tower after they got their driver's licenses in episode 10.
So they go and they like celebrate, and it's just like a thing to do in Korea. There's this really tall tower in Seoul called the Namsan Tower, and like couples will go and they put a lock on the bridge.
I've done it. I have a lock up on Namsan Tower as well.
Well, Khuntoria had to do it twice because after they put their first lock on there, it got stolen by shitty fans who thought it would be cool to steal it, and they were very, very hurt by the fact that someone stole it. But so Nikun comes out and he's like, "Don't worry, I have a backup plan." And he brings out this enormous bike lock with like an additional padlock and a chain. And so they go back and they triple lock themselves onto it. And it's really fucking cute. Hopefully that's still there.
So next up in their timeline is a very important episode. It's the like 7 episode stretch where they go to Thailand.
Yes. So they go, and not every couple got to do this, like go on a trip, because this one it's not technically considered to be their honeymoon or anything. Like they haven't had their quote unquote
They didn't
wedding.
really do wedding shit till the end.
Yeah, not until the very end. And so, but Nikun got to take Victoria back home to meet his whole family, and it was really, really precious.
It's a huge stretch of episodes. It's like a huge chunk of their time. But like, yeah, he goes home. There are like nice fans at the airport with like Khuntoria banners. They're so excited to see them. And then like
he was like a prince of Thailand.
They called him the prince.
Yeah, like very, very beloved.
Because he was at the time, I think he was the only Thai K-pop star. So.
At least the biggest. If not the only. I won't say the only because I don't know that as a fact.
These days there's only 7 of them. So I feel like
maybe
at the time,
was the only.
Anyway. Then he goes home and he has like 35 family members.
He is such a huge family.
And his poor, sweet grandma does not understand what is going on.
No, because, and this is something that is common, this is like a theme throughout every couple. They introduce each other like, this is my husband, this is my wife. They don't say like, We Got Married. They never preface it with the idea like, this is for a TV show. He goes home and he says, this is my wife. And they all the grandmother especially, but also his parents and other family members at first are like, why didn't you tell us you were getting married? There's like aunties
that are like very
What do you
mean
you got married and we didn't get to go to the wedding? Like, Nikun, how could you? Like, how could you bring this betrayal onto your family? Like, they're so upset about it. And like, he kind of explains, especially because they are right away very touchy. Like, at this point, they've already been together for over 100 days. Like, they are holding hands at dinner. She's feeding him very casually. He's fixing her hair. He's looking at her with hearts in his eyes. Like, they're very much already in love. And like, the grandma is just like, are you sleeping together? This is unacceptable. How could you do this, Nikun? Like, who raised you to be this way? Like, she is not having it.
Right. But then I think then they like they do a press tour like in Thailand, and she's really nervous and he like helps her. It's very sweet. And then they like go to like a beach resort and have a nice time. And then when they leave, mom and grandma come to the airport to say goodbye to them. I think by then maybe it's been better explained to grandma, because when they leave the airport, Victoria cries so hard, because she just like talks about like how she had to leave her family when she was very, very young to go to Beijing, to go to school. Like, her parents wanted her to have a better life. So she like was alone a long time. And like, you know, she probably doesn't get to see her family very much. And it would like getting to go see someone else's family. It just like, it seemed really important to her. And it was very...
And there were like, we just talked a lot about how like the grandma was very upset about everything. But for the most part, a lot of the family like very much immediately accepted Victoria and were like very kind to her and like supportive of their relationship or whatever, because she is so sweet and because it was obvious that their connection was sincere, that like she was very well treated by the family. And so I think it meant a lot to her to spend that time with them. And to be so like welcomed into this family.
Totally. Episode 30, I feel like you teased this already, but this was when Victoria tried to have a surprise for 2 p.m.'s comeback. She ropes Shiny involved. Well, mostly Mino, because he's the dumbest one who will come along with this like stupid plan. He's so naive and young in this episode. It's honestly infuriating. He just has a stupid smile on his face the whole time. And I'm like, you don't know anything, you little baby boy.
I know. But he's just like, bitter
so
and jealous.
Sincere, but he's like so jealous, and like Victoria has this, and like,
Victoria is the Nuna in Replay. Like, she is the girl in their debut music video, so she has had a bond and relationship with Shiny from their debut. So like, her going and asking them for help is not weird or out of the blue. Like, they were very good friends.
Yes, and they're like and Key is telling her that her plan is stupid, and Mino's like, no, we're gonna do this. So he like they get the We Got Married people to pretend that they're from a different show and that they need to interview 2 p.m. So 2 p.m. is giving this very sincere fake interview that they don't know is fake. And then Mino just walks in the room and they're like looking at him like, what the fuck are you doing here? And he's like, there's a lady. She like wants to talk to you. And they're like, we're giving an interview. Like, they're very...
And like, he's not from their company. They're not friends. They're just like, why is this child interrupting us right now? Like, they're not having it.
And he's like, I'm gonna go, I'll be right back. And they're like, okay. And they like,
he comes in like with his line, there is a lady who needs to speak to you. I will be back in a moment.
And then he's walking back to Victoria, and he looks so happy, and the MCs are like, oh my god, he's so confident. Like, why does he think this is going well?
The commentary is, they're just like, wow, he's bad at this.
So then eventually she like comes in behind him with like a scarf on her face, and Key was like, literally anyone would know that it's you. Like, this is really
Key
stupid.
Throws stones through this plan immediately.
But yeah, she surprises him with pad thai, and then the MCs again go on and on about like, oh, if he just having Thai food must just make him so happy. It's like if we had kimchi, then he would be saved, and like, food.
Yeah, but she comes and she's surprised. Like, she wasn't supposed to be there at this music show because like FX wasn't performing, and she goes, and the plan is to just surprise 2 p.m. with food, and she should have just walked into the room and been like, hello,
surprise,
it's me, I'm here with food. But she tried to
but they had to stretch it into an episode.
She tried to make it a big deal, and it didn't work.
The next thing I have on my list is another favorite series of episodes that I had watched recently because I watch it all the time. That's when they have their housewarming party and 2 p.m. comes over and causes a goddamn mess. It's the most frustrating episode, but I love it. But it's so frustrating. Victoria's trying to cook dumplings. She can't get them wrapped. They like come over. They're so fucking loud and they're just like looking in stuff and they're like asking her questions like, do you think I'm handsome? Do you think I'm handsome? Do you think I'm handsome? And they're like driving her crazy and she can't cook anything.
Yeah, she's just trying to cook.
And Khun isn't helping. He's like so distracted.
Yeah, basically like 5 toddlers come over and start pulling on her skirts while she's trying to cook. And Khun doesn't help at all. He's just like,
so
he's like lost in this sea of chaos that 2 p.m. brings to their house.
And the best part of it is Chansung breaks a lamp with his head.
Yeah.
There's like a lamp over their dining room table and he a couple times in the episode he like bonks it, like foreshadowing, like lamp. And then at one point he just stands up and glass everywhere, like shatters the lamp with his head. And no one is worried about him at all. They all just stand there and like look at Victoria and it's like silent. And the glasses like chittering. So funny. I love
such a mess.
They are such a mess. And like I said, you said earlier, I think half the reason I like 2 p.m. at all is because of this. It's all just because of this.
Oh, of course. This is why because when we first like 2 p.m.'s music wasn't great at first. Like it wasn't until Go Crazy that their albums became like any
tolerable.
And yeah, but it was this was better. I would say that like throughout the seasons or throughout their episode, like Khun does get better at little surprises. Like one of my favorite moments, there's just so many like sweet little moments in the Khuntoria that I think this is why they were so popular. And like these are the moments that like really catch you as a We Got Married fan, are those like small moments of love and affection where like, for example, I think it was when they were preparing the dinner for 2 p.m. I could be wrong, but I think it was
when he brings her the flowers.
Yeah, like they go grocery shopping together and like they like both go to the store and they like have this whole whatever, they buy so much food and they go home and like as they're unpacking the groceries, like he says, "Oh, you forgot this one thing." And she turns around and he's holding a bouquet of flowers and she's just like so touched and is like, "When did you even have time to get those?" And he's just like, "Oh, you weren't looking, whatever." And like he just like had found a time to go sneak out and buy her flowers and it was really sweet. She was very, very touched.
They're very sweet. Another moment that it's like a good stretch of episodes and also I think important in their bonding is when they did a dance for MBC's Gayo Daejin that year.
Yes.
They did this like, they choreographed this like sexy dance to this song that was like, "I love you, baby, 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 baby." And then they get so nervous in those, like, my favorite is those, like, moments right before they go on stage. Like,
where they're right backstage.
She's clinging to him and leaning on him in a way that they, like, hadn't before that because, like, they were performing and they weren't with their groups and they were just with each other. And like,
it was for one of the end of the year shows and she was very nervous. He's very supportive of her.
And they have to do like a trick.
They do like a flip and it's like a couple dance. It is very sexy. They do like actually touch each other and like body roll on each other and his guns are out like, whoa. And it's a great dance. You can, if you just look up Khuntoria couple dance on YouTube,
that's
the entire
very easy to find in HD. So that exists. I also wrote down next, after that, they went to Jeju as a birthday surprise for Victoria. And the hotel that they stayed at is the hotel I went to for my honeymoon.
That's fun.
And Gongmyeon went there too. So they might, I mean, I've also, and I can't remember another
So idols
couple.
have definitely banged in those hot tubs.
Oh, my. Well, it's a very expensive hotel. So I'm guessing they have the means to take care of those types of things. But anyway, I thought that was fun. And that's when like a good Nikun surprise that time where he gets the band to like play their song and they like brings her durian because they love durian, these weirdos.
Gross.
And he fills it with candles or whatever. Like that's a successful surprise that he pulls off.
But it wasn't based on a lie.
It wasn't based on a lie.
His little surprises that work well are the ones that are not involved with him tricking her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next 2 episodes, I skipped them this weekend because they're boring. It's when they like have to write an article about like their favorite Korean food. Weird. Yeah, weird
and awkward. There is a really sweet, I don't know like when it happens in their arc or whatever. But there is a point at which like she has to do something and she's like very worried about her Korean. And so he puts together a dictionary. He like works very, very hard to put together this like Chinese Korean dictionary for her. And obviously that was a challenge for him because it's not his first language. And like he doesn't speak any Chinese. And like he really struggled and worked so hard putting it together. It was very, very sweet.
That's very cute. The next thing that happened, I just wrote it down because it's another like hilarious episode. And another thing I love about We Got Married is when forced blind dates with friends happen. There's a really good one on the Taming and Noun season. We'll talk about that another day. But on this season, they got Sully from FX and then this boy that Kun is friends with who's like a badminton player.
Okay.
And they force a double blind date, but then at some point they leave them alone in the house and they go to the grocery store, and while they're there they Sully and this boy put decals on their living room wall, and it's supposed to say PS I love you, but they put love I PS you, they just put them in the wrong order
completely.
And then they go up to their bedroom to watch a movie and they're like, let's drink red ginseng packets on the bed, and then they spill ginseng all over their comforter. So then they go put it in the bathtub and then leave it there, and then they go out and they go to badminton and they have a nice day, and those two fuck off, and then Kun and Victoria get back home and there's their blanket is just soaking wet in the bathtub,
and there's horrible decals on the wall.
So they have to they're peeling the decals off, and Sully calls and she's like, sorry, I spilled stuff on your blanket, bye. And then they have to
and there's a really sweet moment where they go into the bathroom and Victoria is clearly pissed as fuck,
because her magnet came over and wrecked the house.
Mad, and she can't even believe that she just put this blanket in the tub and left it. She's furious, and Nick Kun just looks at her and is like, it's okay, and immediately picks her up and is like, should I just throw you into the tub too? And immediately makes her giggle and laugh and lightens the mood and is like, come on, let's just fix this, it's fine. And he solves everything because they're very cute.
Oh, they're so cute. Let's see. Then they threw out a pitch at a baseball game.
Had a very awkward moment with the kiss cam.
So frustrating.
They kept whoever was operating that kiss cam was a dick, because they kept putting them on it over and over and over again. And
he was like, I'm not going to kiss her.
Yeah, these idols are like, we're not doing this, until finally they're wearing hoods, or they're both wearing hoodies.
Baseball hat with a hoodie on it.
And so he leans over and he kisses her on the cheek on the
sweatshirt part.
Yeah. On the hoodie.
Not even skin to skin contact. It's silly.
It's very dumb and stressful and
so stressful.
Yeah.
Let's see, episode, what's next?
When did they go bungee jumping?
That's in a second. I wrote down right before that on episode 48, I wrote, Dummy Kun has girls over to cook. Do you remember that episode? He wants to do the same thing for Victoria because FX is preparing for a comeback. And he's I want to make her Chinese food, but I don't know how to make Chinese food.
Yeah.
I will call over 3 hot Chinese girls from another company and invite them over to our marriage house.
Yeah. Wow. So she's not there.
Yeah. So he comes, he surprises her. He gives her this boxes of food, and she's like, oh my God, you made this. And she's eating it and she's so happy. And then he's like, want to see the pictures of me making it? He's like, Gia and whatever came over, and she her face falls, and she the food falls out of her mouth. And he's showing us videos of all these hot girls in their kitchen, and they're making tofu together, and they're hey, and having so much fun. And she's like, you had women in our apartment? And he's like, I don't know any Chinese boys. And she was and so she can't enjoy any of it. She's so hung up on this. And then, a thing we totally forgot to bring up, another element of We Got Married besides the MCs and the footage is there's black box interviews, talking head interviews.
Oh, yeah.
With the couples. And in he's like, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. But then I started thinking about it, and I was like, what if if she was in our kitchen with Shiny? Okay, maybe I would be upset about it. Anyway, that was a misstep.
Yeah, that's a really fun element of We Got Married, that like they do have these
fights.
black box. No, that they have these black box interviews. No, I don't like the fights.
Okay.
No, I like that they like something will happen and then it will immediately cut to like the husband or the wife like all alone in an interview, and they've just been asked like, so why did you do that? And they're like, God, man, I really thought that was going to go differently or whatever. Like, there's just some really great moments in those.
Yeah, and some of the
interviews.
like shyer people who like never said anything nice to their husband or wife would say it all in those interviews.
Yeah, like they would just like reveal what they were truly feeling like in those black box interviews.
Yeah, so now is when I wrote the next episode is when they go on their like they do their flirty car washing, which was so ridiculous. And then they go to bungee jump and they do not bungee jump because she chickens out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They almost jump like 4 times and then she's like, no. And then they don't. Mm-hmm. And it's a bummer.
And they're supposed to do it together. He was supposed to be like holding her while they did it. And she couldn't.
Every time they'd be like 3, 2, 1, and she would go no, and then they couldn't do it.
He should have just jumped. Like he should have just done it. But whatever.
And then the next episode is when they filmed their own Caribbean Bay.
Yeah,
Caribbean Bay or whatever.
They go to the water park and they film a little thing at the water park.
With 2 p.m. And 2 p.m. comes and wrecks all their fun and pushes everyone in the pool. And like 2 p.m. continues to be the worst. But they're also all just in bathing suits and the MCs just scream the whole time. Yeah. Like, we're having such a good day.
Yeah. Because like Nick Kuhn is shirtless the whole time and like all of 2 p.m. is so beefy. And my favorite MC, the married one, is just like, this is the greatest day. And like,
yeah, they're really all fun. Having like the most fun ever. Yeah. Okay, now we're getting so close to the end. Episode 52 is their wedding photo shoot for their 1-year anniversary. Mm-hmm. And this introduced me to the concept of a wedding photo shoot, which I feel like is a terribly Korean thing. Like maybe other people do it, but like we don't do this in America at all.
So basically the concept is like you go to this house or whatever, you go to this like fancy photo studio and you put on wedding dresses and suits that are not the ones you're going to wear to your actual wedding, and you take photos in different scenarios
to have them at your wedding.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In the hallway to be like, look at our beautiful wedding pictures. Because I feel like here the tradition, like I know some people will take bridal photos in their dress. Mm-hmm. But no one can see them till after the wedding.
Yeah. But in Korea, like these wedding photo shoots, the dress that they're wearing doesn't have to look anything like the dress that they're going to wear for their actual wedding.
So at their wedding photo shoot, they did like one where she's up in a tree and she has like a cascading, like a train that goes down forever and it's really classy. Then they do ones where they like lay in like a giant bird's nest. That's kind of funny. Mm-hmm. They look really cute. Then they do some like through a window.
Yeah. And then they do one that's a really awkward like Spider-Man kiss.
And that's when they technically kissed for the first time. But it's barely anything. It's my favorite. And watching it last night, it still got me as much as it did the first time.
I watched it today. But so like he's lying down on the floor and she's on essentially like a mattress or something. She's on like some sort of like step to be like a little bit above him. So he's lying on his back and she's lying on her stomach so that her face is right above his. And then like the photographer is like, get closer, until they're literally like their lips are touching.
But they're just like trembling and like touching. They're not making like I think that the photo would have looked cuter and they wouldn't have had to get as close if they had stuck their lips out and
a little bit. If they'd actually been like mwah, like done the little like
but it's
pucker.
Like they're keeping their mouths still.
But he's trying to keep his face completely expressionless. He tries so hard to just lie so still with his eyes closed and like a very faint closed-lipped smile on his face. And she has no expression on her face and it's just like getting closer and closer with her lips tightly closed and they're literally their lips are like touching.
Mm-hmm. But
in the sense that like sometimes if you're sitting like on a bus and like you kind of like touch the shoulder of the person, like your shoulder brushes against the other person's shoulder, like that's how their lips brushed against each other. There was no romance.
None. Oh, it's so, and Amber was there. Like Amber walked in as they were trying to do that. And then she's like sitting next to the photographer and like taking a million pictures. But then after that is when they finally had their wedding ceremony. And like we said, like some We Got Married couples have the wedding ceremony the day they meet. Some of them do it 6 months in. Some of them have done it as their goodbye. Like, it's so weird.
They're
it doesn't
all at
mean
random
anything.
times.
But some people have traditional weddings. Some people have, whatever. They had just like it was all the members of 2PM and Amber were the only guests. And it's like a really fancy wedding, and 2PM wrecks it because they wreck everything. They just scream and yell and do what they're not supposed to. And like Woo Young officiates the ceremony and it's like a shit show. But then after their wedding is when I feel like their turn happened. Because just like watching it, the episode after the wedding is the one where they go play pool. Do you remember that? No. It's just like a whole episode of them playing pool. But it's just like they're like barely even speaking because they're just like giggly. It's just like it feels like they turned a corner. Oh, because I also didn't say that at their photo shoot. Oh, this was the thing I was going to talk about. I forgot. With the kiss. So she wears beautiful wedding dresses. Then they put her in this gorgeous red bombshell, like insane dress. And then they stand her in front of the ugliest, chintziest beach background. Because she wants like beach pictures. And it just like looks so bad. And then the like photographer has a fish tank and he's like shooting through water these weird pictures of them at the fakest beach, and she's wearing this beautiful dress. But at the end, Khun proposed to her with like a real ring.
Okay.
So after that, I feel like everything was slightly different. Then they have an episode where they like there's planting lettuce and chili peppers. They're just throwing dirt at each other and like wrestling and being giggly. And then they went and babysat. Oh, the next episode starts with them starting to make kimchi. So they've like spread all the shit out in their living room, these big buckets, and they've like started this whole thing. And then they like get a phone call from Tiger JK, who's like a rapper, and his wife Yoon Mi Rae, and they're like, "Hey, you want to come over?" They come over, and then while they're just sitting in the living room, Tiger JK and Yoon Mi Rae like leave the house, and they find a mission.
Okay, thanks, bye.
And they find a mission card that's like, you have to watch the kid now. So they have to babysit. And the kid doesn't like Victoria. He only likes Khun, and she gets really jealous and really sulky and really cranky about it. But then it ends. They like go back home. And the kimchi is like everywhere in the living room.
Because they had like completely forgotten about it.
And she's so upset. And so he just goes, Victoria, you want to eat some ice cream? And then they eat ice cream, and then they go get in the tub. They like put their feet in the tub and drink wine. And then they get a card that's like, guess what? You get to go to the Maldives.
Yeah.
So then their last 4 episodes are in the Maldives. Which is gorgeous, but then they get there and they're like, oh boy, vacation. And then someone's like, just kidding, you have to work here.
Yeah, you have to be hotel staff. Like, you don't get to enjoy this beautiful resort. You have to work.
You have to work
resort.
here.
And you're like, what the fuck?
And it's so awkward. They have to be like weird bartenders, and they have to teach exercise class.
Yeah, they're really upset about it. And like, it's not a good.
Yes. But then it ends with like the last episode. They do get a real day, and they like leave them on a private island, and they like joke around on the beach, and they cuddle in the sunset, and it's lovely and beautiful. And then it's time for the worst part of every We Got Married season, the goodbye episode.
Yeah. And the worst part about the goodbye episode is that the couple never knows when it's coming. So like they get these, like they know the whole premise of the show, like they know when they're going to film, and so they like know, we're going to this, I have to go to the house today, and like we're going to film together. We don't know how long we're going to be filming together, but like we know that I have to go to this house at this time. And then when they get there, like maybe an hour into hanging out together, they get a knock on the door, the doorbell rings, and they get like a red mission card.
An envelope that's
and
like,
it tells you like what you're going to do that day. And then one day you get a red envelope that it says
this is the end of your marriage.
Like, say goodbye, you're done.
Ugh.
Yeah, it says like today is your last day of being married. And it's always really
cry
sad.
Every time.
Always really sad.
I cry every time. But theirs is especially sad because it's their 456 days. So like 4, 5, 6. Mm-hmm. So they know that it's their last day, but then the production staff like throws a 4, 5, 6 day party that all of FX and their like friends all come to, and they're treating it like it's a regular anniversary day. But like Khuntoria knows that like they have to break up after this. And it's very melancholy and very weird. So then the way they end it is like they get back on that anniversary, that bus from the first episode, and the people are like, or no, was that before their wedding? No, that was before their wedding. Khun's like, he shows her a video of him like walking around their house like the last time, like, this is our house and this is where we did these things. And they always reminisce and talk about how they should have done things differently. And then they go back to that 63 building. He gets back in the elevator. He breaks down in the elevator. And then when it gets to the top floor, it opens, and Love Actually style, Victoria has cards that are like, thank you for your like showing me your family, and thank you for loving me, or whatever. It's fucking devastating.
Yeah.
I watched it at like 2:00 in the morning last night, and I was like still a mess. It like still works on me. And then they like, because the end is the worst. The talking head, Khun, is like, what does he say? Like, I know, like, I've always known that this isn't real, but those moments where it feels real are like the most important thing. And then Victoria says, it feels like a dream that I have to wake up from. Fuck, every time it gets me.
I know. Because that's what we're talking about with those little moments where it becomes very sincere, and like, yes, okay, fine, it's a reality show and it's all like set up and manufactured, but these people, they take it sincerely and they take it seriously, and they like really do commit themselves to that moment and that scenario. And so when they do have to say goodbye, it's often very heart-wrenching, because you're like, oh, but like you did work really well together, and like, why do you have to say goodbye? Like, maybe you could just keep dating outside of this TV show. Yeah. But it's also the idea, especially when they're both idols, that like their schedules are so busy that the only reason they had time to have a relationship at all is because it was part of their schedule that they had to film. Like, and like we talked about this in our Valentine's Day episode like so long ago, that like the whole reason Kai and Crystal from FX broke up was because they never had time to see each other. It's not because they didn't like each other, it wasn't working. It was just like they never had a free moment to spend. And so like when you are on a show like this, it's like, oh, because my relationship is part of my job now, I actually have time to spend with you. And now that time is over, that it's not going to be in my regular schedule, actually maintaining this relationship is going to get a lot harder.
Yeah. And that's why those episodes always get me the most. Like, I love reminiscing, like a montage always gets me. So the like clips of it all, but also everybody always has like a lot of regrets. I watched a bunch of goodbyes last night just because I wanted to make myself upset, I guess. But there's like a lot of people being like, you know, like, we should have spoken formally sooner, or like, I wish I'd held his hand more, or I wish like people would get really regretful of like, oh, we should have done this all differently. Like, now that it's over.
Especially because they never know how long they're going to have together. Like, you never, some couples like Khuntoria, they get like over a year together, and some couples only get 6 months and whatever. Like, you just never know.
You never knew. You never knew.
Yeah, the show doesn't exist anymore.
It's not. I'm sad that this show isn't on anymore. I know it made people really mad when it was on, which is very odd. But I loved it so much. I just thought it was a really unique show. I guess a funny way that we could end this that I thought was hysterical is that my husband didn't understand the premise of this show like at all. I thought that he had. I know he's watched episodes with me, and I swore that I had explained it, but he thought people were really married, and I was like, no.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to explain, like, oh, I'm watching this whole season, like, it's really crazy, like, blah, 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 and it's the reason that I like K-pop and da-da-da, because Taemin and A-Pink and whatever. And he was like, is that guy from SHINee and that girl from A-Pink still married? And I was like, no, they were never married. They were never married.
Are they still married today, 7 years, 10 years later? No, dum-dum.
And I was like, really? Did you really think any of them were married? And he was like, I guess I never really thought about it. And I was like, you've listened to me like screaming about Hyuna and Edon for the last like 2 months, and you thought people would have gotten fired. Like, you think that Shiny and A-Pink is married, but someone else is getting fired for like being in a relationship? Like, use your brain.
In his defense, he does not care about K-pop.
I know he doesn't care at all.
With these things.
He doesn't care at all.
He had no reason to believe.
That's true.
No reason to put those pieces together. But anyway, We Got Married was a fantastic show. People really loved to hate it. It was very controversial for a variety of reasons, and I think that is why it has since been canceled.
True.
Like we said at the beginning, some of the episodes are available. Some of the more recent episodes are available on Viki, which do have English subs. The rest, like, you can find some moments of it on YouTube, but like full episodes are not available there. It's hard to find those older couples.
I guess that was maybe the point that I wanted to get to at the end, is like, really sorry for bringing up this thing from 8 years ago that y'all never get to watch. But it was really important to me, and I wish if I could give you all my hoard of We Got Marrieds, I would. But they aren't on the internet for a reason. Like, that shit gets pulled down. I don't have the resources to upload these things. But anyway, I don't know. I love this show. It was my favorite. I'll miss it forever. And we're probably going to talk about it again because there's more couples to bring up. So that's it. We'll be back with our random game. All right, we're back. And it's been a while. I feel like the random game has been giving us like established, like, I feel like it's been a minute since we've had a like blank Wikipedia type group.
True. I mean, this is a group that there's literally a paragraph of them on Wikipedia. They are called Lip Service. They were originally a trio formed by Now Entertainment, which debuted in February 2014 with a song called Yum Yum Yum.
These are girls, by the way.
Yes, 3 girls. But there are 4 former members of the show. So this group was only together from 2014 to 2017. They originally debuted with 3 members, Bipa, Anna, and Cora. Cora left in 2015, and they added a girl named Cindy only for the year of 2016. So Bipa and Anna were like the main like core members of this whole group. They released 1 EP called Hello and 5 different singles between 2014 and 16. And then they announced their disbandment in August of 2017.
Yeah. And that's like all of the information that we could find.
Yeah, that's kind of it. The only like other detail is that one of the members is the one who announced on social media that the group had disbanded, which was then later confirmed by the official page going inactive like around the same time. So
it also says on this Wikipedia page that they had a different label every single year for the 4 years that they existed.
Ooh, yikes. I wonder if that's because they initially started with like a small company that got changed around. That's really weird. I wonder why they ended up with so many different labels.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I'm very curious to see what this is going to be about.
We have no information on like the style of music that they had or like what their whole thing is, and it's interesting too that they're supposed to be a trio because the screen grab of this debut single Yum 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 is just 2 of them.
But 2 people.
Whatever, let's see.
All right, 1.5 million views. Yum, yum, yum. Let's see what this is.
Lip service. Y'all ready?
Oh, polka dot lipstick. This is not what I was expecting.
Not at all. Okay, they're definitely just a duo. What the hell?
What? Okay, now there's a boy tearing his shirt off.
So they definitely have like a tougher style. They have like bandanas tied around, and one set where they're just like with rollers in their hair. It's definitely a box video.
Yeah, just like pink box.
Backup dancers and like goofy outfits.
Okay, now they're
in a club,
quote unquote club. They're in the same room in every moment, but
Oh my god.
yeah, well, I feel like we haven't been talking, but I don't know what else to say because it's like there's a robe set, there's a mechanic outfit set, there's a denim set, but they're just
it's just
hanging
three
out,
different outfits,
dancing.
and they're just dancing. But I kind of like it.
I'm not mad about it.
It's fun, and I like their styling, and they look like they're having fun.
Who is that dude, though?
I don't know, but I appreciate a group that objectifies a man.
Yeah. He just seems to be the only one. Like in the club scene, it's all
There's
girls.
just the one man. And I feel like they have like a different style than a typical girl group, which is fun. No, there's a guy.
Yeah, it's that guy.
Well, I'm confused as to why they're billed as a trio, because
Me
that was
too.
definitely
That was
only
two people.
Oh, but look here, there's 3 people sitting on the couch, so they must have added. But the Wikipedia page said,
Yeah.
2014, Cora. Huh, weird.
That's super odd. Well, that was lip service, I guess.
Service.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Welp, it's the end of the episode.
Yeah.
That's when we recommend something.
I know, I don't know what to recommend this week. I didn't really have something prepared.
Okay. I'm going to recommend something really random.
Okay.
I mean, well, it's on topic, but it will feel really random.
What is it?
So we'll talk. I feel like we'll talk about them another day, but my actual favorite We Got Married couple recorded a song together. And it's called Holding Hands. And it's by Wooyoung and Saeyoung. And they wrote it together on their show. And it's sweet. And I love it. And there's a cute half music video of them recording it. And I feel like that's the only thing I can recommend this week.
Fair enough. Along those lines, then I am just going to recommend something that I mentioned earlier in the episode. It's a drama on Netflix. It's called My Only Love Song. And it's great. Like, it is honestly, it's hilarious. It's well made. It's romantic. It is very satisfying. There are many scenes in it where the 2 main characters get to make out, and it stars another great We Got Married couple, Jeon Young from Sea and Blue, and an actress whose name I just forgot. But they are great. That show is based on their own love story and the song they wrote together, and it's beautiful. I love it. It's goofy and slapstick and ridiculous. It's like a sci-fi, and kind of sci. It's like time travel historical drama, and it's super fun.
It is super fun. Yeah. Double that rec or whatever. I don't know. We've been talking too long. My brain is broken. So that is all for this week, I don't have my schedule. Never mind. I was going to see if there was something I needed to ask the listeners for next time, but I don't have my thing. So.
I don't know. If we do, we'll put it out on Twitter.
We will. Oh, and our Twitter, if you want to follow us or follow us anywhere at AMA K-Pop Pod on Twitter and Instagram, AMAKPopPod.tumblr.com for all the links, AMAKPopPod@gmail.com if you want to send us an email. And we're on YouTube, Ask Me About K-Pop, the podcast. And that's it. We'll talk to y'all next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Chongyun, your inspiration.